For much of the past century, America saw itself as the leader of the free world. But its reputation in many rich countries has reached a 20-year low. Hardly surprising, perhaps. The storming of the Capitol by pro-Trump supporters marked the culmination of 4 years in which the democratic norms of America have been undermined and division has reigned. Incited by the only president to have been impeached twice.
There was a sense that America was a beacon of democracy for the rest of the world, and that has dissipated.
This is not America.
Terribly distressing.
Und mich haben diese Bilder wütend und auch traurig gemacht.
The challenge facing Joe Biden's administration is immense. How can he repair America's tarnished reputation and restore its role as a global leader? Of all the democratic norms President Trump violated during his 4 years in the White House, none was as damaging to America's reputation as his refusal to transfer power peacefully.
We will never give up. We will never concede. It doesn't happen. You don't concede when there's theft involved.
An American president, the purported leader of the free world, using every means at his disposal to try and countermand the result of an election that he lost, including inciting a mob to go and ransack the Capitol. That's going to be an indelible image of the Trump era, and one that America will always have to confront in the future when it tries to reassert its role as a sort of global beacon for democracy.
There's a very real sense among Joe Biden's foreign policy team that foreign policy begins at home, and that you have to address America's own domestic problems in order to be strong, in order to be admired abroad, including, of course, the great challenge of COVID-19.
In early 2020, as the COVID-19 pandemic spread, the world looked to America for leadership. But instead of taking on that role, President Trump retreated, dismissing the seriousness of the virus.
It's going to disappear. One day, it's like a miracle. It will disappear.
On the day that a mob stormed the Capitol, nearly 4,000 Americans died from COVID-19. More than 350,000 Americans have already died. It hurt America's global standing that it was incapable of containing the spread of COVID-19.
In July, Trump formally announced America was pulling out of the World Health Organization. As president, Joe Biden has said he will reverse that decision. Domestically, he plans to hire 100,000 contact tracers and spend $25 billion on vaccine manufacturing and distribution. And globally, America is expected to join COVAX, the International Vaccine Alliance, to deliver vaccines not just in America, but all around the world.
It's an international health crisis. And the idea, we're at war with the virus. And it is, we're at war, for real.
An engaged America can make an awful lot of difference. It's important for the biggest crisis that the world is facing. It's also, I think, an opportunity for Biden to really show, in practical terms, that America is indeed back.
Trump not only withdrew America from the WHO, but also from 12 other international organizations and treaties, including the Trans-Pacific Partnership, or TPP.
We're going to stand up to China, withdraw from TPP, which is another disaster.
Reversing many of these decisions and reaffirming America's commitment to multilateral agencies will be a relatively easy win for Biden.
He's going to leverage the many relationships that he's built over his nearly half-century in Washington to try and repair whatever damage has been done to alliances such as NATO, repair trust in the multilateral institutions such as the WHO, to try and rejoin some international accords on climate change, such as the Paris Accord. But in addition to the policy decisions that he makes, the rhetorical shift that comes from the White House, which is so important, is going to be, I think, the biggest component of the change.
America is going to be a rather more predictable power than it was under Donald Trump. You're not going to have the kind of sudden tweets that reverse carefully formed policies. He won't take the world by surprise quite as much as Donald Trump did. And that in itself, I think, is going to reassure America's allies that America is more dependable than it was before.
America is back, ready to lead the world, not retreat from it.
Biden has announced he plans to hold a global summit of democracies, which would bring together democratic leaders to discuss ways of pushing back on autocracies.
He will also want to find ways to cooperate with the countries that are rivals of America. Donald Trump, of course, introduced a policy of America first. He started a number of trade wars. He introduced lots of sanctions.
Most notably, President Trump imposed billions of dollars of tariffs on Chinese products sold in America.
Well, I'm very happy with China right now. They're paying us billions and billions. We'll be over $100 billion in the not-too-distant future.
I think Donald Trump has recognized that China represents a deep and growing challenge to American power.
Biden is going to also take a tougher stance on China than previous administrations, Democratic and Republican, because both parties have lost faith that under Xi Jinping, the Chinese regime will at all liberalize. Biden will prosecute that campaign with more certainty and less impulse, but the underlying reality of tariffs on Chinese goods might remain for some time. At the very least, they constitute some leverage for future negotiations.
That leverage may be useful when it comes to global warming, particularly as China and America are the world's biggest emitters of greenhouse gases. And it's on climate change that Biden has the opportunity to reaffirm America's world standing.
President Trump pulling out of the Paris Accord ceded America's global leadership on climate change.
It'll start getting cooler. You just watch.
I wish science agreed with you.
Well, I don't think science knows, actually.
President Trump also dismantled many of America's regulations that were aimed at reducing carbon emissions.
The Biden administration is going to reverse the reversals that Donald Trump put into place.
We'll bring America back into the Paris Agreement, and put us back in the business of leading the world on climate change again.
He has an ambitious domestic climate agenda as well.
This includes setting the target for America of reaching net zero by 2050. Modelers say this target will shave 0.1 degrees Celsius off their temperature projections for the end of the century. If Biden can formally submit this target before the COP26 UN Climate Summit in November, it will help convince other governments that America plans to pull its weight. And then there's Russia. Biden's first challenge will be extending the last remaining nuclear arms control treaty between the two countries, which is due to expire in early February.
It's particularly important for the maintenance of trust between those two nuclear superpowers. It's by no means perfect. It doesn't take into account other nuclear powers, particularly the rising power of China. But if it doesn't exist, that would be hugely problematic.
With one eye on the treaty with Russia, Biden will also be looking to another nuclear deal, one that is central to stability in the Middle East, the Iran nuclear deal, from which Trump withdrew in 2018.
I think Joe Biden would like to get back into the Iran deal, but the world has changed since President Trump left that deal. So Iran has ramped up its nuclear activities. So just getting back to where things were before is not going to be easy. One thing you have to remember is that on Iran, America will not be acting alone. The original Iran deal was with European powers and Russia and China. That's a test, if you like, of the Biden administration's ability to work across some quite difficult sets of relationships towards achieving a result.
Many of President Trump's America First policies were carried out by executive order without the need of approval from Congress, which means they can be rolled back using the same process. But only certain changes can be made by executive orders. In order for Biden to make long-term shifts, getting legislation through Congress will be key, and that will be much more difficult.
The fact that Democrats will control over the Senate and have unanimous control over the levers of power in Washington albeit by the slimmest margins possible, suggests that he may be able to accomplish a few of those far-reaching things, but certainly not all of them. And the long-lasting things that actually cement a president's place in American history will come through a lot of hard and difficult negotiations with Congress.
Despite Biden's ambitious plans, convincing the world America has shaken off Trump's legacy will be an uphill battle.
There's a tremendous desire to see America back among America's allies, so that will be hugely welcome. But there's also a suspicion on a number of levels. There's a suspicion, first of all, that, well, if you could elect someone like Donald Trump once, it could happen again. That's not something you can change overnight.
If the Senate convicts Donald Trump of inciting an insurrection, it will go some way to signalling to the rest of the world that America's checks and balances do work. But Biden inherits a poisoned legacy. If he fails to heal a divided nation and restore trust in its democracy, then these images could continue to challenge America's role as leader of the free world for years to come.
I'm John Prideaux, The Economist's US editor. You can read all our coverage on the inauguration and what's in store for the Biden presidency on the link opposite. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching.